It's June 2nd, which means it's a day after June 1. That is some high-level analysis that you only get here. And what it used to mean pre-2006 would be a second wave of free agency. And for the first 5 years or so that we operated PFT, it was always a big day on the calendar because there would be players who were under contract, who had bloated cap numbers, who had bonus amounts that, if they were cut before June 1, would rush onto the cap, and you had to wait until after June 2, because after June 2, you would only take the bonus acceleration, the bonus allotment that applies for this year. You don't get any acceleration. Anything that's left over went to the next year. So there was a cottage industry within the cottage free agency industry of June 2, June 2, June 2. Guys get cut. Other teams then pursue them. And it created 10 days, to 2 weeks of content.
Yeah,
it was
right,
great.
right.
2006 had all changed, and it created the device that allows teams to cut 2 players per year before June 1 and treat it like it's a post-June 1 transaction.
Yeah.
So like a Kyle Rudolph, he would have been cut today, pre-2006. Kyle Rudolph was cut by the Vikings back in March. It's processed as a post-June 1 transaction.
Gotcha.
So that part of it's done. But this year, Chris, June 2 is making a comeback because, and it used to be, if you traded a guy during any year at any time, before or after June 1, you took the full salary cap acceleration that year. They decided, and I think it was around the same time, if not a couple of years later, they decided that if you trade someone after June 1, treats it the same way. So that's why we've been talking about Julio Jones being traded as of June 2. The Russell Wilson angle, $39 million cap charge drops to $13 million as of June 2. That $26 million doesn't disappear. It just hits the cap next year. So this year, we're not looking at June 2 as a potential launch point for guys to get cut, although it still could happen. It's a launch point for guys to get traded, starting with Julio Jones. But the other names that have been percolating, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, those trades, if they happen now, all entail much more favorable cap consequences for their current team. So not that it's going to make something that's not happen, but it makes it more palatable for the team that's trading the player.
Yeah, it's part of the world we live in right now with the NFL. You're right, and it's a device that, you did a good job explaining it there. You really did, because I think a lot of people kind of know a little bit. Oh yeah, June 2nd or June 1st, you could cut it in half like you talk about, but I don't think people really know the details or anything like that. So it takes a little burden off the team here, and we'll see. Maybe we see a little bit more action. The only one right now on the radar, though, that I think is like really, really relevant that we think could happen, right? Unless I'm missing somebody else, because you named all the big names, is Julio, right? There's nobody else right now we're really looking at that's that type of scenario.
But as I said last week, you can't completely rule out the possibility, like, a team such as the Raiders plotting and waiting to make a move as of June 2 to try to get Russell Wilson. And if it's something that, and again, we don't know, and they're never going to tell us. Let's say that John Gruden's not happy with Derek Carr.
Yeah.
He's not going to come out and say it at this stage of the season. Derek Carr, we've been doing this for 3 years. We got to do something big. And at some point in May, they decide, hey, once this window opens for the Seahawks to take $26 million less of a cap charge, let's go make them a big offer and see what they do. And if they take it, then it happens like a lightning bolt. Nobody saw it coming, just like nobody saw the San Francisco 49ers trading from 12 to 3 coming until it happened. And so it makes it slightly less unattractive. I'm not saying it makes it more attractive, because the Seahawks don't seem to be inclined to do it. Yeah. But we have removed that. Well, they can't do it. They take a $39 million cap charge.
Right, that's over.
As of today, they would take 13, and it's 13 versus 39 because there's 39 left at $13 million a year for the next 3 years. So this year's number is 13. They're taking that whether he's on the team or not. It was that other 26 that was in the balance, and now that other 26 goes to next year, and so that makes it easier. Aaron Rodgers, $11.5 million of potential cap charge gone now. for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, what's that?
$16.2 million. Ooh. $16.2 million is what the Texans would realize in savings this year by trading him now. They still have to take it next year, but it reduces the cap hit. So those are the guys who are relevant post-June 2, and any player who would get traded who would have remaining cap acceleration beyond this year, that's the bonus. That's the inducement to letting a guy be traded after June 2, and we'll see if that results in any of the guys other than Julio Jones being more likely to be traded. But for Jones, there was no way. It was a non-starter. He was not getting traded before June 2. And, Chris, the betting odds, I don't know if you saw this last night, and I don't know if we talk about it later in the show. I did read the outline of the show, but now I forget whether or not it's in there.
Right.
The Seahawks now the betting favorites, which I would not make that bet. I would not make that bet if given the opportunity and sufficiently willing to squander my money. I would not bet on the Seahawks. I would still bet on the Titans to be the team that gets him.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they were the team that got him too. I would. I mean, especially with like the uncertainty of where Russell Wilson is right now and his standing with the Seattle Seahawks and all of that. The things we brought up with Julio Jones yesterday. Of course, we know. Practicing isn't always the easiest. He does do a little bit load management during the year as far as how much he practices, when he practices. And then the contract situation, I don't know. That just doesn't seem like a Seattle move to me. It does not. And if they did make that move, I don't know. I guess maybe it would maybe make me change my thought about what they want to do with Russell Wilson. I guess that's the one thing
Absolutely.
I will say, right? You'd go, okay,
Absolutely.
They're not going to trade him after the year. They're going to do everything they can to make this work and extend him, and they're going to try to get one more run out of this, another 4 or 5 year run out of Russell Wilson, and see if they can do it. Okay, so you're in agreement there.
Trading for Russell Wilson in Seattle would have the same impact on the relationship with Russell Wilson as trading for Julio Jones.
Gotcha.
I mean, trading for Julio Jones in Seattle would have the same impact on the relationship with the quarterback as it would have in Green Bay.
Yeah, right.
And we advocated early on when the Julio Jones trade talk accelerated, this is something the Packers could do, and in one fell swoop, fix their issue with Aaron Rodgers. Same thing applies to the Seahawks, which is one of the reasons why we don't think they're going to do it. Like, all of a sudden, the Seahawks, after years of, you just work here, you don't need to tell us what to do.
Right.
We're going to run the team the way we see fit. Ground and pound. Oh, wait, you know what? We got an idea. We're going to go 3 wide. We're going to go DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones.
Right.
Let's go.
Right.
Fire up the offense.
Yeah, right.
Here you go, Russell Wilson. You're now our Patrick Mahomes. We have seen the light.
Yeah, right.
We are ready to do this. I think that to the extent that it's true, there have been trade discussions. It was done so they can just say to Russell Wilson, we tried.
Maybe.
That's the only reason they did it.
Maybe that's why they did it. You kind of said that last year with Antonio Brown a little bit too. I mean, maybe that is the reason they're doing it. But I'm with you. It just does not make sense for all the things that you just kind of, sarcastically explained. Oh, yeah, we're going to go all in on Russell and throw the ball. Oh, wait, you threw 2 interceptions? Hey, bring in the other tight end, and we're going to run the ball for 5 straight weeks now. Hey, Julio, we don't need you. We have the other 2 receivers on the field. That's where I don't think it makes sense, for Seattle at least. I don't. They got enough issues there right now. They got the Jamal Adams contract on the horizon. They got the DK Metcalf contract on the horizon. Tyler Lockett's on a 5-year, $90 million deal.
He's got a new contract.
Right, yeah. So I just don't see any of that adding up to Seattle making a move for Julio.
And that's really the point that hasn't been emphasized nearly enough. Julio Jones is not just going to show up and say, hey, you got me for the next 3 years at $38 million. He may want a new contract now. He definitely will want one if he has a big year in 2021.
Definitely.
And after 2021, that's when DK Metcalf is in line to get his. It's a problem that the Seahawks shouldn't want, and I wouldn't want. And look, I think the Seahawks need to solve their Russell Wilson problem one way or the other, but you don't solve that problem by taking on another problem that just compounds your total player personnel problems.
Yeah.
And having Julio Jones on the roster just creates more problems than it solves, I believe.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.